I've been talking a lot about Season 4 of The Dragon Prince over the course of the last couple months. While it is possible that we are never going to get this season, and that the show is going to be cancelled, I don't think that is going to happen. It is worth believing, at least for now, that we are going to get another season. The show has not been renewed, but it also has not been cancelled. We're in that limbo period. Nevertheless, the strength of the show's fan base, which has been growing every season, the amount of critical acclaim the show has received, and the difficulty of launching and preparing new shows, considering our current circumstances with this pandemic and all that, with the pitch and piloting process being a lot more convoluted. Considering all this, I think there is a decent chance that we get at least one more season of The Dragon Prince, and hopefully we get the entire saga. TV networks are renewing a lot of shows these days. Recently, or at least recently in regards to when I wrote this script, CBS renewed 80% of their shows. In these difficult times, the choice is very much, for networks, between the devil you know and the devil you don't know, and the devil you know is a much more secure proposition. So until I hear otherwise, I am going to assume that yes, Netflix is going to renew The Dragon Prince for another season, and it is worthwhile to consider what that fourth season may look like. For one, I doubt it is going to focus nearly as much on Viren as the third season of the show did. Unless they decide to take Viren's arc in a different direction, I have no idea what they are going to do with his character from here. Viren has spent the last 3 seasons of the show slowly going insane. Now, the show has always considered Viren to be in the wrong, but he did start off making a lot of interesting and compelling arguments. Especially in flashbacks, the relationship between elves and humans seems innately iniquitous, considering that elves have the ability to perform magic while humans do not. After considering how the elves exiled the humans from Xadia, it is not unreasonable for the humans to assume that the elves want to undermine them. However, even if we consider these initial intentions to be reasonable, they gradually became corrupted, and Viren gradually became nothing more than a puppet of Eryth. Viren tried to wage war against his adversaries, turning his supporters into a horde of dark magic zombies, but it was not enough. They defeated him, and Rayla killed him by throwing him off a ledge. I don't think he could go any darker than he already has. No, I do not think they will abandon his character. He's been too important to the show for that. However, I do not think that they will use him in exactly the same way they used him in earlier seasons of the show. That would just be rote repetition at this point. They might give Viren reasons to doubt Eryth and to break off that relationship. While I doubt they will give him a full-fledged redemption arc, there are a lot of paths for his character that aren't continuing being a puppet for Eryth and full-blown redemption. He might still believe that elves are terrible and need to be destroyed, and that his own actions are done in the name of protecting humanity, while still turning on Eryth when Eryth attempts to sway Claudia to his side. Viren, for all his faults, does at least believe he cares about Claudia. If Viren does turn against Eryth, I believe Eryth will try to kill him, and I do not think there is very much that Viren could do to stop this. Though Eryth is currently in a cocoon, he is growing gradually more powerful with time, Viren, however, has seen his very sense of self disintegrate. I doubt he will be much of a challenge for Eryth, as he is nothing more than a shell of the person he once was. Narratively, having Eryth kill Viren would make the threat Eryth poses a lot more immediate, because we actually know Viren. We care about Viren. We are invested in Viren's story. That is why we have the trope of the real villain defeating a more minor villain. If this more minor villain is already a threat, then just by the transitive property, the creature that defeats him is thus considered even more of a threat. At least that's the idea. It's rather crude logic, but it does work, and the show does need to find a way to make Eryth more of an immediate threat to our characters. Atmosphere and Eryth's wonderfully deep voice can only go so far. Eventually, you need to make the characters care about stopping him for reasons other than, ooh, this guy is so bad, so everyone needs to go and stop him. If you don't do this, then the conflict gradually starts to seem more hollow. Having him kill Viren would accomplish this, but I am hesitant to say that this is going to occur. If only for the reason that Viren has already died and come back from the dead. Killing him a second time would be a little dramatically cheap. A second death has far less tension and narrative drama to it than a first death. It is possible that Viren might escape Eryth's clutches and wander the world in search of enlightenment. He might even run into Sarai again if my theory about Sarai being alive is true. But all of this is very speculative. What I am considerably more certain about is that Claudia is going to be the star of this new season. During the first few episodes, our heroes will be content, but that contentness will be undermined by the gradual unraveling of the alliance between humans and elves. Showrunner Aaron Haas has even said that the conflict between humans and elves has not been solved by the alliance the two groups made to stop Viren and his forces at the end of Season 3. The enemy of your enemy is not necessarily your friend. This makes sense, and I really look forward to seeing what Haas and his team do with this dynamic. Nothing has been solved. The humans are still exiled from Xadia, and the elves are still understandably upset that the humans killed the Archdragon Thunder Avazandum. While the Dragon Prince is an optimistic show, it is careful to not let that optimism decay into saccharine sentimentality. It is not emotionally unrealistic. Callum will gradually have to come to the conclusion that even though they defeated Viren, things are not perfect. And not long after he comes to that revelation, the bottom will really give out on him, and Claudia will make her presence known. She will interrupt the peace he is attempting to create. Even before they interact for the first time this season, the impacts of Claudia's descent into darkness will be felt. Callum will be aware that someone is wreaking havoc and damage throughout the kingdoms before he is able to discern who exactly that someone is. Claudia is alone. Since the start of the series, she has always relied on her brother Soren. Even though she mocked him and internalized their father's attitudes about him, she still cared about him, and she still treasured having him by her side. He kept her most unsavory impulses in check, but that is not the case anymore. Soren left after realizing he could no longer morally justify staying with their father Viren. The moment when he splits from Claudia is heartbreaking, and easily one of the most haunting moments of the entire season, the entire show, really. But Claudia, by the end of the season, does not want reconciliation with him, instead considering him a traitor for siding with his king, Ezran, over their father. I apologize for repeating a lot of what I've already said in my other videos about Season 4, but the more I rewatch the first 3 seasons of the show, the more deeply I become convinced that Viren is going to take something of a back seat, and Claudia is going to ascend into center stage as the main adversary of our protagonists. Unlike Viren, her motives are more personal and familial and less ideological. She has chosen her side and her side lost, so she is doing the best she can to protect the future for herself and her family. As such, it is unlikely that she can be reasoned with, setting up a devastating 4th season. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching The Dragon Prince. It is a compassionate, inspiring show, and I really hope it gets a 4th season. It really deserves one. I know I didn't really spotlight all the characters in the show, or even all the main characters, but I really wanted to focus on the storylines I think will be most important in Season 4. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Thank y'all again. Adios, comrades.